Okay, so for this demonstration, what I'm going to do is open up just a basic flowchart template. And just as before, you can see a set of stencils at the side here that allow me to create some shapes on my drawing. So let's drag a few across. In order to do that, I'm using the pointer tool. So if I just drag a couple more in here, put a start and an end. Using this pointer tool, I can select any one of these shapes, resize them to fit, drag them around my drawing. Okay. But next to the pointer tool is the shape tool. And by default, you can see it's showing us just a rectangle. But if I click this down arrow, now you can see the 6 possible shapes here. And as I mentioned before, it's easy to forget that your pencil or your arc shape can be drawn using this tool. So if I select the ellipse, now what I can do, click the tool, and I can free draw an ellipse on my drawing. Drag it around, size it to the back, and that's all done using the tool here. But if I go to the pointer tool, this is the one that I go back to when I want to start manipulating lots of different diagrams. You notice that it's a click and it's a stay. So if I select now the connector tool, this is the one that I use for connecting shapes together, and you can see the behavior and the icon changes. So now I can select any one of these connection points and I can drag a connector between these very quickly and very easily. But I have to remember now that I'm in that pointer tool, I'm in that connector tool rather. So to go back to my pointer tool, I either select it manually, or there's a hotkey that I can select here. If I hover over the top of any one of these, you can see that there's a little prompt that tells me that there's a control key to get back to it. And if you remember nothing else, I recommend you remember that control 1, when you hold those down, takes you back to the pointer tool. So just by clicking control 1, I'm back to the pointer tool, and I can now start moving my diagrams around. And notice here that the connectors I put in place, they're dynamically rerouting. So the last 2 tools in the set are the text tools. So if I select one of my shapes and then click the text tool, I can type something in here. Alternatively, if I click on blank space while I'm in the text tool, it's just going to take me to its own shape box, and I can type something in here, and that becomes a shape in its own right. So if I switch back to the pointer tool, I can now drag that as its own shape around my diagram. Then finally, I've got my text rotation tool. If I select that, now I can drag and rotate the text around my diagram. And that's it for working with the tools in Visio.